Thank you for joining me today on the Unpopular Opinion channel, where I bring you nothing but information that we can grow from and join together collectively as a culture once again. Today, I want to bring you a video by a doctor who did a seminar about 9 years ago talking about the medical health industry in America. Now, in layman's terms, the medical industry in America is something really dangerously wrong with it. Me personally, man, a lot of people, I believe that the medicine and the doctors and what they're doing to us is doing more harm than what we're going to the doctor for. And that's my personal opinion about it. This video, this doctor gonna talk about that, and he gonna talk about what they discovered. So I'm gonna play this video about what this man said about the medical institution in America.
Now, I want to flash back 100 years to a gentleman named Abraham Flexner, who in 1908 he was an educator. In 1908 he was commissioned by the Carnegie Foundation to travel the country, visit all the medical schools, and issue a...
And if you don't know about them Carnegies, that's a whole nother video in itself about the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, and the Morgans. Those are some of the wealthiest families at the turn of the century that was in this country. You definitely have to know that. That's why I be saying history repeats itself. There's nowhere in the world you can understand the present and the future if you don't even understand history. There's no way.
Report. And he did that in 1910. His report had a seismic effect. Words like ignorant, fetid, disgusting were frequent throughout this report.
Now, he ain't gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. Keep in mind, he talking about black medicine colleges, black medicine physicians, black people doctors.
What he found was medical education in a variety of settings, many of which were proprietary, for pay, mom and pop operations that were essentially science-free zones. Now we're talking 1910, and science coming out of Europe in the late 19th century, late 1800s, was washing into America, but it hadn't really hit the medical schools, many of them. The effect of his report, however, was profound. In the following 20 years, more than half the schools closed. And his prescription was that medicine should be taught in the research university. It was a brilliant, simple, but brilliant proposal, because that is where science was respected and practiced. It was a quality assurance vehicle. But the unintended and unforeseen consequences of that has been to consign medical education to one kind of institution, which today has grown into the academic health center, the large teaching hospital, spectacular institutions with a number of missions. First among them is service, largely of a specialty and subspecialty nature, quaternary care and tertiary care as it's called. Secondly, as research institutes, where much of the cutting edge research takes place. And often medical education is a bit of a sidebar that is respected, but part of the passing job of the institution rather than the focal one. So our medical students are essentially directed through institutions that are extremely intensive, extremely expensive, and distant from, at least culturally, from the community where most of medicine continues to be practiced. So Flexner was very strong on the quality mission of medical education, but his work really distracted educators and others from the social mission of medical education. The social mission, as defined, is the mission of a medical school in its contribution to the programs and the performance of its graduates in addressing critical and unmet health problems of the society in which it exists. For society, read neighborhood, community, region, state, perhaps nation, perhaps world, although I get worried when institutions don't have a basis this closer at hand. The social mission speaks to community engagement. It speaks to disparities reduction. It speaks to diversity enhancement. It speaks to concern with cost. And it's the whole agenda chasing down the social determinants of health, which are out there in the community and determining a lot about what we as individuals and we as a population suffer from in terms of health. That is the social mission. Now, it's not prominent, as I say, in many of our institutions, but fortunately we have a number that have kind of moved beyond Flexner or are hot in pursuit of social mission, and they provide inspiring examples for the rest of the system. Let me give you a couple of examples. The University of New Mexico in Albuquerque is a school very much dedicated to that state. Most state universities are, but the dedication and scope of that intent in New Mexico is quite extraordinary. Among the many programs they have it's called a BA to MD program, which recruits kids out of high school. And they go around the state to the poorest high schools, often in the state, at the high school level, and select kids who have promise for entry. And if you succeed at the college level, you're automatically admitted into the medical school. And currently, a quarter of their class are participants in the BA to MD program, and they are heavily Latino American and Native American, and it really provides an important pipeline into the school for minority students and disadvantaged students. Morehouse School of Medicine, one of our proud historically black schools in Atlanta, has a number of programs, as you might imagine. They specialize in pipeline programs. The term pipeline refers to reaching out into the community and developing early enhancement programs in K through 12 and elementary.
Yeah, they will reach out to the community, but you got to listen closely to what he said. He said Morehouse will offer advancement treatment program where they'll get out in the community, test your blood pressure, screen you for diabetes, of course, AIDS, things of that nature. But far as their medical teachings and what they teach, it would be nothing different than the rest of the medical schools in the country. Nothing different.
High school and in college, in an effort to reach out to students who have promising but not necessarily well supported potential for health science, for medical school and other health schools. And these programs of a variety of sorts help these kids along, create, a larger pool for Morehouse itself, and create many opportunities for those students in other schools and other professions. Finally, the A.T. Still College of Osteopathic Medicine in Mesa, Arizona, an osteopathic school. Osteopaths have pioneered many creative, educational, community-oriented projects. They admit students for 1 year, the basic science year, to the Mesa campus, and then send them to one of 11 community health centers around the country, one here at Unity in DC, for the latter 3 years of medical school. They do distance learning for basic training back at Mesa, but they do their clinical work in the community health center and in local teaching hospitals. They are trained as community physicians in the community. It's an extraordinary program. It's succeeded very well. They have 4 or 5 classes of graduates now out practicing, most of them in primary care, most of them supporting communities that are disadvantaged, working in them. So these are examples that can set the style and the pace for the rest of education, medical education, if taken seriously. We have an opportunity to make a choice about the future. In 1900, in Flexner's time,
Now he gonna tell you. Today we living longer. Of course, this demonstration shows 1900 to the year 2000, and it says that we're living longer. That's what the U.S. Statistics say, but we know it's in reverse, where we're living less of a time today compared to back in the day. But to control people and what you perceive, they're gonna always feed you the bull crap, and it's up to you to do the research. But before he even speak, and you see what he say, look at that and flip it, and I guarantee people say, yeah, that's more like right. Folks dying 47 and under in these years today. They flip it.
An American born could expect to live 47 years. In the year 2000, an American born can expect to live 77 years. That's a 30-year jump in life expectancy over the course of a century. Unprecedented, extraordinary. The result of public health and medicine and science and the population. But that's a tremendous achievement. A problem for us not to forget, however, is that achievement is not uniform. Great disparities remain within the population. And just to biopsy a few, blacks will on average, live 5 years less than whites. If you were born in Connecticut, you're likely to live 6 years longer than if you were born in Mississippi. If you have health insurance, you'll do better and live longer. And if you're born in the United States, you're likely to live decades longer than if you were born in sub-Saharan Africa.
Now, why in the world, when we ask our state elected officials to explain numbers like this, what you mean blacks gonna live 5 years less than white people in this country? What do you mean by that? What do you mean people without health insurance life expectancy gonna be lesser than other people with health insurance? When you control the economics, you control the job. See, that's what I need people to pay attention to today. Because a lot of the things that we're experiencing and going through, it was told to the generations who was of maturity age then. It was told to them. They told you what's going to happen. And people still went along with what was going on. And that's why we're faced where we're at today. We're in a complete a matriarch of a system that's closing. It's definitely coming to an end because consciousness expands. The generations that are alive today, most definitely, especially in my lifetime alone, we have more access to information than previous generations, which when you use information the correct way, it raises your vibration, it raises your consciousness, it raises your understanding. So that's a fact today. It's just not enough people is receiving the information, A, or B, they just don't care about the information that's presented. Or C, they got the information, but they don't want to change or have a hard time changing. Where it's going to take a collective effort on all. It could be done overnight, just like that with this information. If you first start with the person in the mirror and then work on your household first. If everybody did that within 24 hours, our whole world would transform before our very eyes, instantaneously.
Or many developing countries around the world. So the gaps, the disparities are internal and external, and they are dramatic. So the question that leaves us with, me, with you, particularly the students in the room, who will be largely the stewards of the 21st century, is what's our goal in medicine? And how do we set that in medical education since we set sail from the medical school on out into practice? Is our goal to see to it that the privileged people in the United States put 30 more years on and live on average to be 107? Or should we think about our priority being the earnest, serious, durable disparities within this and move the floor up as our goal? I think the latter is what I would certainly suggest to you. We have an exciting and doable agenda, but it means setting our sights on doing that. It means moving beyond Flexner It means moving now and moving together. Thank you.
So see, we got to move past the Flexner Report. We got to move past what they call was modern medicine. We have to move past it. It's too many people out there now that are whistleblowers. Since everybody know what a whistleblower is, they came out and said that the medicine is harming us today. The medical practices are harming us. The doctors are in it for profit. They ain't trying to heal nobody. They trying to keep you coming back. First, they start off doing knee surgeries, putting plastic in it. Then they say, oh, the plastic bad. No, I think they did metal first. Then they went to plastic and say the plastic bad. Now they're saying they're doing titanium. Test dummies, guinea pigs. And then they will use and construe the law to say, hey, it's this person's will to do what they want to do. But the stupid practices get contagious. They really get contagious, where we got to wake up. We got to listen. Research that Flexner Report by Abraham Flexner. Research the Flexner Report. Take a look at it yourself. See what it is. See what changes they changed and implemented around 1908, 1910. See what it is they did. That's what I did. And I'm doing my part to just try to set off a light bulb in like-minded individuals' head that, hey, take a look at this like I'm looking at. Take a pause from the ratchetness and the things that people like to do that we know that you can't grow from. And let's look at this. And let's use some of these social media platforms to dialogue and communicate with one another. And let's see what we can come up with. I don't know, fam. Tell me what you think. Research that Flexner Report. Till next time, this on the Unpopular Opinion channel. I'm out.